What's going on, guys? It's Highlighted Miners here. So I'm getting a lot of questions about how to set up a completely new rig on HiveOS. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is do a step-by-step guide. I'm going to be adding my test bench to my test farm. We're going to be utilizing this SSD here. It's just a 64 gig SSD. If you guys are looking for a tutorial on how to set up HiveOS, specifically on an SSD to a rig that already exists, I'll leave a link right here to a video that shows that. But let's get into it. So we're going to be going over a step-by-step guide on how to install HiveOS. I will be putting everything on camera that I do away from the screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to HiveOS.farm. Click enter. It will bring you to this page. Now if you do not have an account, when you click sign on, it is going to ask you to go ahead and register for an account. If you don't mind, I do have a link in the description with a referral link to HiveOS. If you click on that, it will take you directly to this site. So once you are registered, it's going to bring you to this screen. I have my stuff already saved, and it will load up this screen. The next thing you're going to want to do is open up another tab and go back to HiveOS.farm. Now you're going to navigate to this install tab. You're going to scroll down to where it says GPU. You're going to click on the zip file. That will then start downloading HiveOS over here for you. If you go a bit further down, you'll see where it says write. So in this particular case, we're going to be using an SSD, so we're going to be utilizing something called Etcher to actually write the operating system to the SSD. So you click on Etcher, it will bring you to a different site. You go ahead and click download for Windows, and it will download this as well. Now once you have both of these downloaded, let's go back out here, you will open up Etcher. It will look like this. You're going to want to flash from file, and you're going to select the HiveOS download that you just did. Now I have one already. Yours will probably be in downloads. So if you're in the folder like so, you will navigate up here to downloads, and there they are. But since I already have one, I'm going to utilize this. Now I'm going to click open. You then want to select the target, which is what SSD you're actually going to put it towards. Now you'll see that nothing's coming up here for me. I do have some drives in here. It's yelling at me and warning me that these are system drives. So now I'm going to take you guys over to my toaster and show you guys what we're doing over there. Okay, so this is my toaster. So as you can see, this just goes ahead and takes a hard drive and allows the computer to talk to the hard drive outside of your actual rig. So I'm going to take the SSD that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in there and turn it on. And I'll see you guys back at the computer. Alright, so now that we are back at the computer, we're going to go ahead and select target, and now you'll see that my device actually comes up. I think 64 gigs is a perfect size for what you're trying to accomplish. You can get smaller ones. 32 gig I believe is available, but they're kind of hard to find, and these 64 gigs are around 20 bucks, just nice and easy to find. So we're going to go ahead and click on this and say that we want to write to this. We'll click select, and then all you got to do is click flash. Now this will go through one time, and actually you can tell here it's about 7.55 gigs. So it will flash this. Alright, so it looks like it's finishing up here. Now it says flash is complete. Perfect. So you can just go ahead and exit out of that. Now what you'll want to go back into is your HiveOS. If you don't have a farm set up, it'll be real easy. It just says add farm and name it. This is my test farm, so I do have one mixed rig on here that I mess around with. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to come back to this. You'll see where this mixed rig is. So we're going to go up here, click add a worker. And we're going to add rigs on this side since we are doing GPU. And we're going to connect existing since we already have a HiveOS drive that has been flashed. This is going to give you a username and password, but we don't really care about this at the moment. But we are going to want to go over to settings. Alright, so the first thing that I suggest is that you name this here. So I'm going to name this my test rig since this is my test rig. We're going to go ahead and update worker. Next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and update a password. So this is just a test, so we're going to go minor12 minor exclamation point. Go ahead and update that password. Password was successfully changed. Perfect. And the rest of this doesn't quite matter. But what we are going to do here is go ahead and click on this rig config. You'll see that it actually downloaded a rig configuration. So we're going to show that in here. So you'll see this rig configuration. Now what you're going to want to do is actually go to your PC. As you can see, I have 3 drives. Now the HiveOS drive actually isn't showing up. So we're going to actually eject it from the toaster, as you can hear that I just ejected it, and plug it back into the toaster. Perfect. So mine showed up. Now yours might not have showed up. Let me show you what to do if yours didn't show up. Excuse me. Sorry about that. If yours did not show up, you're going to want to go to create and format hard drive disk partitions. So you'll see that mine is here. Yours might not show up because it might not actually have a drive letter associated with it. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to remove my letter. And you'll see that now HiveOS actually does not show up here. And it did disappear from this list. If that is the case, come to disk management. Just search for it down here. Disk management. Right click on the Hive. Change the letter. Add any letter. Doesn't matter what it is. You'll see that it now has a letter associated with it. So if you come back to your PC, right click and refresh, you will see that HiveOS now is here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to our downloads. I'm going to open this in a new folder, and you'll see our rig config is here. Now you just want to go ahead and copy and paste that over. If there's one already on here, just go ahead and click replace. Now we are done with this rig config. We're going to come back out here. I clicked on this HiveOS to come back to this main menu. I click on our farm here. You can see this rig is still going and this one is offline. So now I'm going to show you guys exactly what it looks like in my rig. I'm going to put this SSD in there in my test rig, and then we'll go ahead and boot that up. I'll show you what the boot up screen looks like, and then we'll come in here and make the necessary changes that we have to. Okay, so as you can see, we put the same SSD that we just flashed in this test rig. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on and show you what the screen looks like. Alright guys, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to come over here. We are going to hit this power button. As you can see, the rig is powering on with our SSD. So we're going to come down here. We're going to wait for this to register. Looks like it's registering. So what I've seen is normally you see this line across here. It should go away relatively quick. And that way it will go ahead and start showing you HiveOS. So now what this says here is that the connection to HiveOS failed. Now, one of the things on this rig is that this is actually connected via Wi-Fi. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click the up arrow. Actually, I'm going to type in Wi-Fi here. You can see right there, I typed in Wi-Fi. Alright, so as you can see, I went ahead and I typed in Wi-Fi. It then said Wi-Fi setup, shot through here and said that it was searching for appropriate networks. So now you can see 8 is where mine is, so I'm going to go ahead and click 8 down there, click enter. It's now asking for the password. This is just whatever password you have set on your rig. Alright, so I put my password in and I hit enter. Now it says the Wi-Fi setup is done and it's connected to my network. It wanted me to type in state. I just hit enter because I didn't want to type in my state. So now I'll see you guys back at the rig, but first thing I'm going to do is actually type in the command hello. That normally starts the rig up again. Perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to reboot this rig now so that you guys can see what the normal setup looks like. Alright, so mine does have a restart button on it, which is one of the reasons why I do love the P3, and I do have a video. I will put it up in the upper right hand corner if you guys want to see that. So again, this is asking what we want to do. We're going to boot to HiveOS. So there it is. And we should be booting up to HiveOS. This time it'll look a little different. It says no log for miner. That's because we haven't set up any flight sheets yet. So I'll see you guys back at the computer. Alright guys, now that we're back at the computer, if you hit this refresh button up here, it'll refresh these, and now you can see that it says it's missing a flight sheet. It does show one GPU here. So what we're going to want to do is go ahead and click on this test rig. And it will bring you to this page. You can see there's a Zotac 3070 in there. It shows you the temps, but it shows you that there's no flight sheet. So let's go ahead and click on this. So now I do already have a flight sheet set up, but what we're going to want to do is click on this flight sheet button and it will bring us over here. This allows us to create an absolutely new flight sheet. So what we're going to be doing is you can pick your coin of choice. For this specific one, I'm just going to go ahead and click Ethereum. Now, if you don't have a wallet, I suggest, if you're a smaller miner, mining directly to an exchange. I use Coinbase. I know there's some other miners out there that have used Coinbase for a long time. Crypto Red Fox being one of them. He uses Coinbase. So what you're going to want to do is click this Add Wallet. Obviously, we're adding a wallet for Ethereum since that's the coin that we're mining. You're going to copy and paste your address here. I suggest you name it. If it's Coinbase, something like Coinbase Ethereum. And then normally what I like to do is save as a global wallet. So in the future, as I add rigs, I can go ahead and just utilize that wallet. So what that looks like is I'm going to click down in here and I can see, hey, I already have a wallet here since I did click on that global. It's the Coinbase Ethereum wallet. Now when it comes to pools, there's tons of different pools to mine to. Now if you're newer to mining, the number one thing I suggest is using HiveOS, because HiveOS is free for the first 4 workers. Your 4 workers can have 12 cards apiece. So you can have 48 cards and they're all free if you mine to HiveOS pool. So we're going to be utilizing that. You can go ahead and select this auto here, and that will go ahead and select the pool server that you want. This is going to be the closest. Just pick the closest one to you. Next, you're going to want to select a miner. Now, there are tons of videos out there on miners, but I feel as though most people would agree that if you're using just NVIDIA cards, you're going to want to use T-Rex miner. If you're using just AMD cards, you're going to want to use Team Red miner. Now you can use 2 miners on the same rig, and I'll show you that here in a second. But since we only have NVIDIA, we're going to select Team Red Miner. Now you can dual mine coins. I'm not going to go over that in this one. But let's say you have a rig that has 3 cards. 2 of them are NVIDIA and 1 is AMD. You're just going to want to click this Add Miner here. Go ahead and click Ethereum. Use your same wallet. Use the same pool. Auto select it. And then you'll select a different miner. Now the biggest difference is when you go up into this the setup miner config, most of this will be auto selected, but down here this extra config arrangements, you'll see that there's some language here on what devices do you want to use this miner. Let's say you have 2 NVIDIA cards. You're going to click this. You're going to go ahead and exit out of these, and you'll do 0, 1 and save. I'm obviously not doing that, but let's say we had that other miner in here, and I'll add that again real quick. And we were doing Team Red Miner for the other one. You'll see that this has a little bit different. It's a D. Let's say you had 2 NVIDIA and 2 AMD. You would just go ahead and do 0, 1 on this and 0, 1 on this. Okay, it's only counting the devices that it can recognize. So T-Rex Miner only recognizes NVIDIA. Team Red Miner only recognizes AMD. So once you have this complete, you're going to create a flight sheet. So you'll see my flight sheet down here. I'm going to remove this flight sheet, or excuse me, no, I'm actually going to keep that flight sheet. So what you're going to want to do is come back over to your workers. You'll go to your test rig. Now the next thing that we want to do before we start it is go ahead and change our overclock settings. You can do so in this tab, but normally what I like to do is you can do so over here. If you click this one, it will let you overclock that individual card. If you click on this one, and let's say you had 8 rigs all with the same card, they're all 3070 Ti LHRs, you can go ahead and click this all and just do one across the board. So I'm going to click this overclock setting. There's plenty of places to go to look for overclock settings. I'll leave a link up here. I did a video on how to overclock any card on any miner. Essentially, the premise of that is you're going to go ahead and back off the core clock until you see a hit and a negative hit in the megahash per second. Increase the memory clock until you see a hit in megahash per second, and then start lowering the wattage. Same premise. Alright, so for a 3070, I have quite a few of these, so I already know that my core clock can be 1400. I know that I want my memory to be 2650. I like to keep my fans on anywhere from 70 to 80 depending on the cards since it's winter time. I like to keep my cards somewhere around the 60 degrees Celsius range, so you can change accordingly, especially if you're watching this later. And what I do is a power limit of 200. I do click this turn off LEDs. It does not work on the newer ones, but it does work on the older ones. The older cards, meaning, and that'll just save you a little bit of wattage. Now this NVIDIA pill here, you can read a little bit on this, but this is for older cards. If you do have an older card that's using GDDR5 memory, you'll want to go ahead and click this. Other than that, we're going to click apply. So you can see that this has now changed. It's only using 13 watts because we have not applied the flight sheet to it. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to go ahead to the flight sheets. You'll see I don't want to use this because I'm actually utilizing 2 miners here on that mixed rig. So we're going to go ahead and click this, and it says the worker is successful. It's now pushing that configuration over to this, and we will wait a few seconds, and that will go ahead and eventually take hold, and we'll see this start to ramp up. As you can already see here, it's ramping up slightly. If you want to see if there's been any updated info, you can click this refresh. Looks like it's still thinking about it. So that will go ahead and update. Now, one of the things I want to tell you guys, this OS version, you'll see this a lot, this little orange thing. If you click this, it'll want you to update it. My ideology on this is do not update your rigs if they are staying consistent, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean that, let's say, this mixed rig, right? We've been up for only an hour, okay? I can tell you guys why here in a second, but if this is 7 weeks, don't update this. Just let it ride. Just absolutely let it ride. This went down because I changed the name of this rig, so that's why that went down. But as you guys can see now here, we are getting about 59 megahertz per second. I do know that this 3070 Ti, since it is LHR, this particular card does get about 60, 61, roughly around there. So this is good. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to show you guys is this right here, this hash rate watchdog. Now, if you click this, it's inherently always off. Now, what this is designed to do is to help miners keep their rigs up. So, as you can see here, miner restart after 3 minutes, miner or reboot miner after 5. Now, what is it talking about? 3 minutes of what? 5 minutes of what? If you come down here, you can see, I know this card does 59 plus, right? There's only one card on here, so I'm going to say, okay, 45, I want this on. And I'll show you this in my other rig, because I think it makes more sense when you have more cards. So this is the entire rig, and I have Watchdog on. So you'll see miner restarts after 1 minute, and it reboots after 2 minutes. Now it reboots after what? So as you see down here, I have a minimum threshold. So I have two 570s at 30, which is 61 mega hash. So if one of those cards falls off and stops mining, your Watchdog will kick on. And after a minute, it will reboot this rig. And it will continue to do so till everything boots up appropriately. Same with T-Rex Miner. I put that in at 140 because if one of these fails, this is only 135. If, the big one fails, it's definitely going to fall under those. Oops, sorry about that. So this is huge. This is something I did not know existed when I first started. So utilize this Watchdog. Alright guys, so now we have completed and successfully installed HiveOS, booted HiveOS, and you can see that we are mining now. Some different things to note: you can do different flight sheets, meaning you can actually come in here, edit, you can change the coin, change the wallet, but doing any of this will actually reboot your rig, so be careful. Other than that, guys, if you have questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. As always, hit that subscribe button. It absolutely helps the channel. And go ahead and click that like button because we know how much the YouTube algorithms like it. And until next time, guys.